pwn Aristotle a little bit, I guess. At least
I thought we were working on Seneca.
Yeah, Seneca's going to be pwning Aristotle.
Oh, okay.
His hashtag wrecked. Howdy, everyone. We're here with Wonder Lady.
Hi.
And we're continuing Seneca. Yay! We're almost done.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I think we're going to do this one and then maybe one more episode.
Wow, okay.
Because we're on 17, we're going to do 17, 18, and then we'll do 19, 20, 21, because those last two are pretty short.
Okay.
And then we'll be done with this series, and we'll have to figure out something else to do.
That's amazing. I thought this would be longer. So it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short little essay, really. Aristotle says that, quote, certain passions, if one makes a proper use of them, act as arms, unquote, which would be true if, like weapons of war, they could be taken up or laid aside at the pleasure of the wielder. These arms, which Aristotle assigns to virtue, fight of their own accord and do not wait to be seized by the hand, and possess a man instead of being possessed by him. We have no need of external weapons. Nature has equipped us sufficiently by giving us reason. She has bestowed this weapon upon us, which is strong, imperishable, and obedient to our will, not uncertain or capable of turning against its master. Reason suffices itself not merely to take thought for the future, but to manage our affairs. What then can be more foolish than for reason to beg anger for protection? That is, for what is certain to beg of what is uncertain? What is trustworthy of what is faithless? What is whole of what is sick? What indeed, since reason is far more powerful by itself in performing these operations, in which the help of anger seems especially needful, for when reason has decided that a particular thing should be done, she perseveres in doing it, not being able to find anything better than herself to exchange with. So, it's basically kind of tackling this whole idea that anger is useful. And basically saying that, well, wouldn't reason be more useful since it can prevail past the passions? In other words, past that initial feeling of anger that you get, the proto-passion. It can endure, and it can be tamed, whereas anger cannot be tamed.
To the unpredictability, right?
Yeah, the unpredictability and just how much it can possess the person. It takes over. It basically shuts off reason. And to the Stoics, reason is the highest of all virtues, right? That's what we are aiming for, is to be more reasonable. Because that is, from the Stoic perspective, within our nature. And we're trying to be in a line with nature, or reason. Would probably be a better way of putting it than nature, because nature is such a, what do you call it?
Powder keg.
Yeah, it's convoluted. it's convoluted, right? I mean, you could say anything is natural. That doesn't make it good. What makes it virtuous is if it's reasonable.
Right. And I often hear people say, well, something isn't natural. And it's like, well, then where did it come from?
Yeah.
You know, did you get it from the supernatural realm? I mean, I realize you're talking about things created in test tubes and things like that most of the time. When people start saying, I'm not going to eat that. That's not natural.
Synthetic.
But, yeah, it's like, but where do you think it came from?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get issues with things like that.
And, you know, if you think about it even further, it's within human nature to seek out ways of manipulating the environment or manipulating nature in a way that proves useful to us. Like vaccines, for example. People argue, that's not natural. Well, why is it not natural? Did we not, by our own nature, establish that this was a helpful thing for us? That it was reasonable to do so? That it preserves our lives and the lives of our children?
Right.
So,
Or, what do you call it? Buffalo wings. They're not natural.
yeah, but
You don't kill a chicken and go, I just love this buttery, Tabasco-y, like, combination of eating this chicken's wings.
yeah,
We actually have to work it to get these things to taste right.
yeah. One, buffaloes don't have wings. And two, even the process of cooking can be argued by that standard as something against nature.
Right.
If you're not eating a raw hog, then I guess. But if you ate a raw hog, it would be stupid because as a human being that has been educated, that you could probably get a tapeworm or some other kind of parasite eating pork that's not cooked.
Right.
So this whole naturalistic fallacy is not something that is reasonable. I did want to kind of point that out because you see a lot of this language that doesn't necessarily mean what it sounds like it means.
Exactly.
Even like with the term stoic, for example. When people think that, a stoic person is somebody who doesn't have feelings. Well, no, that's not true. We have feelings. We just don't invest as much time and effort and energy into those feelings. We notice that there are things in the world that we can't control, so we let that go instead of clinging to it. And most of the time, even the Stoics can't even do that. We're human beings. It's not as if we have no emotions, but we understand that love and kindness and feelings like this are important to us. It's just that we don't want our emotions to possess us and cause circumstances that are harmful to us and the people around us. And as a citizen of the world, we want to be able to be more reasonable, right?
Exactly. And if you're not doing it because you want to be a good citizen, or if you want to stay out of jail, there is a cost benefit to losing your reason in
Yes.
anger. You, one, don't need to break your hand or the wall. You don't need charges of assault preventing you from getting jobs and passing security clearances. You don't need your town looking at you as a hothead or unreasonable person, because if you ever need to invoke the law, no one's going to listen to you.
So true. So true. Y'all listen to her. She's smart.
No, it's just cost benefit.
Yep.
That's not really smart. That's the dreaded word, math.
Seriously though, if more people thought about this and considered the things that you just said, just think of how much better the world would be. So yeah, of course it's smart. Your average person isn't thinking about this, and if they do think about it, they certainly don't act upon it.
I've lost my temper like that, though.
Yep, same. Reading this philosophy and contemplating these things, it doesn't solve my problem, but it does make me aware of it so that I can strive to change it. And I have. I've done a lot better than I did when I was a young hothead, because I've been reading this stuff. I've been practicing being wiser and having courage and having a sense of justice. And the moderation part is the hardest part. I'm not so good at that, but I'm trying.
As long as you're not being so reasonable, you're caught in inaction.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call that reasonable. I'd say the person who is a good citizen and who understands that it is reasonable to be a good citizen, they wouldn't stand by and just allow things to happen, because that would be complicit in injustice.
I love the word complicit.
Yeah, it's a fun word. Words are hard, but that's a fun one.
Pronunciation is hard too.
Yep. Shall is. So, she therefore, reason, that is, she therefore abides by her purpose when it has once been formed, whereas anger is often overcome by pity, for it possesses no firm strength, but merely swells like an empty bladder, and makes a violent beginning, just like the winds which rise from the earth and are caused by rivers and marshes, which blow furiously without any continuance. Anger begins with a mighty rush and then falls away, becoming fatigued too soon. That which but lately thought of nothing but cruelty and novel forms of torture is now become quite softened and gentle when the time comes for punishment to be inflicted. Passion soon cools, whereas reason is always consistent. Even in cases where anger has continued to burn, it often happens that although there may be some who deserve to die, yet after the death of 2 or 3 it ceases to slay. Its first onset is fierce, just as the teeth of snakes, when first roused from their lair, are venomous, but become harmless after repeated bites have exhausted their poison. Consequently, those who are equally guilty are not equally punished, and often he who has done less is punished more, because he fell in the way of anger when it was fresher. It is altogether irregular. At one time it rushes to undue excess, at another it falls short of its duty, for it indulges its feelings and gives sentence according to its caprices, will not listen to evidence, allows the defense no opportunity of being heard, clings to what it has wrongly assumed, and will not suffer its opinion to be wrestled from it, even when it's a mistaken one. So this kind of highlights, what we were talking about before, that reason is a much better weapon because of its endurance. And it doesn't make assumptions. And that's a good thing. I'm glad that Seneca highlights this, because when we're angry, we make all these different assumptions. We tend to fall into those biases that will blind us to what the evidence shows.
Right.
You see, like the immigration issue. People get angry, right? They get so worked up over that issue because they think, they think that all the assumptions that they've made about it are true. Like, they're taking our jobs, they're raping our women, they're doing this and that and the other. But those are assumptions. And if you were just being reasonable when looking at this issue, you would find that those assumptions aren't true and the evidence doesn't support your assumptions. So.
Exactly.
That's another good thing that I think that Seneca highlights there, especially when it comes to justice, because if you're actually seeking justice, you wouldn't do so with anger. What do you think?
Definitely don't do anything with rage.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. So
I think a little bit of anger is good to, like, light the fuse. Like, oh, that's unjust, I'm going to say something.
As Seneca points out, though, if you light the fuse with anger, it's going to go out. It's not going to remain consistent. It's just going to fizzle away. And then you're not serving justice, because whereas you were very gung-ho about this one person, the other person who commits an equal crime, well, you've already exhausted your fuse. So if you're just going by the anger...
Well, that's what I mean. If it's just rage, I'm changing it to rage because to me, I think that's a more comfortable word for me. That's all.
Okay.
Because, like, rage isn't healthy.
Not at all. So, we are now on section 18. Reason gives each side time to plead. Moreover, she herself demands adjournment, that she may have sufficient scope for the discovery of truth, whereas anger is in a hurry. Reason wishes to give a just decision. Anger wishes the decision to be thought just. Reason looks no further than the matter at hand. Anger is excited by empty matters hovering on the outskirts of the case. It is irritated by anything approaching to a confident demeanor, a loud voice, an unrestrained speech, dainty apparel, high-flown pleading, or popularity with the public. It often condemns a man because it dislikes his patron. It loves and maintains error even when truth is staring it in the face. It hates to be proved wrong. Oh my God, that's so true. and thinks it more honorable to persevere in a mistaken line of conduct than to retract it. Oh my God. There's so many examples of this. So many. I mean, we run into this every day, right? You'll...
on social media, definitely.
Yes, you get into an argument with somebody who's clearly angry. They're all caps. They're shooting all kinds of cuss words at you. And they're not listening because they just want to get to the end where they're proven right, quote unquote, right? Yeah, all that matters is that they're right.
Many of those.
Yes. Yeah. Those aren't fun. And, you know, I'm guilty of doing that myself, right? It's just, at the end of the day, what matters is we're seeking the truth. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. What matters is that we're having a conversation and we're trying to get the evidence, trying to get the truth. And I think that's often lost whenever we're engaging in conversations.
Yes.
So,
but there's so many different types of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to decipher who you're talking to, if they're communicating what they're actually saying correctly, or if they're actually, I don't know, trying to work it out. Some people are just trying to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's met with anger, you're just going to lock them up too.
Oh, that's a good point. So if we approach it from giving people the benefit of the doubt and looking at how they're expressing and trying to understand where they're coming from.
Although there's some people I don't want to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Because I'm done. I have a certain period of time, and then after that, I'm done.
Yeah, well, you can tell when somebody is just not listening, right?
Yeah.
And when it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think is very important to remember when it comes to life is you've only got so much time. You don't have to engage with people that are wasting it, that have no respect for your time.
Yeah.
That's borderline abuse, in my opinion.
Like if someone refuses to even listen to you,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to assume everything you say, it's best to move on.
Definitely. I've known people that just consistently thought that they could just read my mind.
Yes. Or they're looking through an 8-ball.
Yeah. It's like, how insulting. You think I'm so predictable, and you think you're so far above me that you think that I'm going to get caught in some kind of trap of yours? What is this? You can't read my mind. That's so insulting. Anyways, so I remember, I guess, Gnaeus Piso. Gnaeus is these names. These names, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm not an intellectual. I'm not in it to say, I read Seneca. Like, I'm not looking at it like that. I'm just trying my best just to pronounce these words. I don't know. I don't know the Greek, okay, y'all. So it's not like philosophy is some kind of posh thing. Oh, I read the Greeks and the Romans and the no. I'm just looking for answers in life. That's what I'm doing. So if I mispronounce something, I'm sorry. I'm just a housewife from Texas. So
You're not just anything. Come on.
But yeah, I remember Gnaeus Piso, a man who was free from many vices, yet of a perverse disposition, whatever that means, one who mistook harshness for consistency. In his anger, he ordered a soldier to be led off to execution because he had returned from furlough without his comrade, as though he must have murdered him if he could not show him. When a man asked him for time to search, he would not grant it. The condemned man was brought outside the rampart and was just offering his neck to the axe when suddenly there appeared his comrade, who was thought to have been slain. Hereupon the centurion in charge of the execution blade, the guardsman sheathed his sword and led the condemned man back to Piso to restore to him the innocence which fortune had restored to the soldier. They were led into his presence by their fellow soldiers amid the great joy of the whole camp, embracing one another and accompanied by a vast crowd. Piso mounted the tribunal in fury and ordered them both to be executed, both him who had not murdered and him who had not been slain. What could have been more unworthy than this? Because one was proved to be innocent, two perished? Piso even added a third, for he'd actually ordered the centurion who had brought back the condemned man to be put to death. 3 men were set up to die in the same place because one was innocent. Oh, how clever his anger at inventing reasons for his frenzy. You, it says, I order to be executed, because you have been condemned to death. You, because you have been the cause of your comrade's condemnation. And you, because when ordered to put him to death, you disobeyed your general. He discovered the means of charging them with 3 crimes, because he found no crime in them. Wow, that's quite an example there.
That's what I mean by the times helped shape this.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be quite frank, because I can't be Jen, to be frank, though, I mean, how much have times changed in regard to this kind of thing?
Well, not much. I mean, how many people who cannot stand to be wrong will overreact and just throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
like, oh, I've been proved wrong. Oh, I've been proved to be overreacting. Oh, you haven't seen overreacting yet.
It's just like, how many times have we heard of detectives finding someone who had done, like, say there's a murder, and a detective says, oh, I think it was this person. I found such and such circumstantial evidence. Therefore, let's convict them. Right? And how many times has it happened that justice has been blinded to the fact that these people, there was no evidence to back up the detective's claims, and then later it had to have been overturned? How many times have we seen this happen?
Or how many times have we seen, like, a couple break up and there to be a pattern of irrational anger?
Mm-hmm.
And when the police are on it, they can save someone's life. When the police aren't on it, they find somebody's skeletal remains. Like, I just watched the other day something about a guy who could not forgive his wife for divorcing him because he was beating her. He had a temper. Well, he did everything he could. He beat her with a baseball bat. He put her in a container. He filled the container full of snow. He put it on the back of his truck. He put her in a warehouse, but she had her phone. And they worked out by taking him in and going through his wallet where she was. I think she lost her feet. But they found her. So knowing that people are irrational and vindictive and proud when angry, and that anger met a level and he couldn't get over it. They could predict that type of just waste.
Mm. A lot of times with those kinds of situations, like, it's that kind of instance could have happened to my mom. But, like,
Yeah.
a lot of times law enforcement's hands are tied because here you have a woman who is being beaten, and usually the cops get called, blah, blah, blah. She just, no, I don't want to press charges.
Yeah.
Because they're so afraid, but I love him. Now we're back to that,
Right.
But it's true. It happens a lot. But
Right.
in the case of like justice, one instance that I'd like to highlight is the Central Park Five, right? You have these men who were condemned, and turns out they were innocent. The evidence showed they were innocent. But how many people, like, say, took out an entire page of the New York Times to talk about how guilty they were just because of their bias? And they can't possibly be wrong, even though they were wrong. They were so wrong. And now they have their grubby, tiny little orange hands in our justice system. That's great.
Right.
How
You're right.
how often does this person get angry and make judgments that are horrible and awful and cost lives? How often? And this is a person in the most powerful position in the country, possibly the world, right?
Well, yeah, but I think that's going to change.
I hope so, y'all. This is I've fucking had enough. Have y'all had enough? I've had enough.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, yes. I've had
Um,
enough. I've had enough.
I mean, how many 5 a.m. tweets do we have to see? Rage tweets before we go, I think he's a bit unstable. If you want to be a good citizen, right, and you want to actually have an impact on the world, please be reasonable. Don't let anger be your weapon. Because when it's your weapon, you're going to be another example, like Trump.
Right.
And you don't be a Trump. Just don't do it.
Well, I think people forget that this isn't like their own personal argument. That this is the world stage. I mean, this is like if he's got the personality type that you admire, do you really think that's the way you want your entire country to be represented as?
Mm-hmm.
Like that type of person. That do you really want everyone to look at that and say that is you? Because that's what he is. He's your representative.
I don't care as long as the libtards cry.
Oh no.
Well, how many times have you heard that?
Too many.
Uh-huh.
It's turned from something practical because like that's what a president is supposed to be. He's supposed to be practical while you're being unreasonable, not vice versa. At
Well,
least that's my opinion.
the unreasonable people have elected somebody that's just as, or if not more, unreasonable than them.
Right.
Yay, frenzy. So, do you have any questions for the audience?
That's a very good question.
It's fractal questions, y'all.
Well, I'm wondering if they got back by you know, changing anger to other emotions and seeing how they were. That was the question from last week.
Right. I don't
But
think we've gotten any answers on that. I will check while
that's
you.
a pity. I guess what they perceive justice to be. Like if anyone is comfortable with the idea of justice being quick and proud and angry rather than fair and reasonable. Because condemning a man for not coming back with his comrade, finding the comrade, and that whole cycle of blame for, I guess, pride.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
How people may have done that themselves at any point. Because we can all be irrational.
Oh, yeah. I get really angry, irrationally angry, when I can't find things. And I forget what I was looking for. I think it was a shirt or something. And my daughter has this habit of grabbing the laundry and not sorting through it and just putting it in her room.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, oh, damn it, she did that again. And I jumped the gun. I just assumed that she had taken this article of clothing. Come to find out, I had put it somewhere where I don't normally put my laundry.
Oh.
And it wasn't even her fault. And I felt really bad because I was just like, Gracie, where the heck did you put the blah, 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 blah? And I just, got angry.
Right.
And I shouldn't have. I should have just calmly asked her, hey, have you seen this and that? And just looked for it myself instead of flying off the handle. So I know I definitely have had instances where I was angry and I shouldn't have been. I should have just dealt with it reasonably instead of...
But you didn't execute everyone involved.
Well, yeah, I didn't. I think that would be overkill.
Right.
Zing. Yeah.
Oh.
Boo. Oh. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. I think it's a good question. At least, even if nobody, and I did check, nobody answered. We got a couple of comments. One was from Robert X, and he said, why are y'all doing this when I'm at work? I'm sorry.
Oh, he's fun.
Yes, I love Robert. So
Me too. He's really nice.
He's nice. I love seeing him in the chat. He really keeps the chat going. He's a patron of mine. Awesome. Thank you. But yeah, that's about all we've gotten. Is a couple comments. One from Johnny Drive-By. Darn it, I missed it. I'm sorry.
Oh, Johnny Drive-By is so funny.
He's hilarious. Did you see that last video he did?
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, I laughed my ass off.
He said so much by saying nothing at all.
I know.
He's freaking brilliant.
Yes.
That was definitely the best response video I've ever seen. It was art.
Yeah, it was art inspired by RT. Haha.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And then he gave Artie a hard time for not commenting.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
That's gonna have to be a hashtag or something. Pants off for Artie. Pants off for Francis. But I guess that concludes this episode. Thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had something to think about.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. You're a wonderful person. You have great insights. So,
even though I don't philosophy well.
Yeah, well, there's an argument to be had there. I'd say you philosophy quite well.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Special thank you to all my lovely patrons. I so appreciate your support. Also, make sure you like, share, and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get notifications. Thank you.